Hi, welcome. Um, Today I'm back in the park and I've had some I've had some things on my mind in the past few days, weeks. Um, I want to say thank you for viewing my channel today. This will be my third video. So if you've seen all of them, thank you so much. I would love it if you'd subscribe to my channel so that you can see the content that I put out. I'm working to do a video maybe every 2 weeks or so. So yeah, subscribe, comment, what you'd like to hear me talk about, what you thought about the content that I put out. Share it with your friends if you think it's beneficial. And yeah, thank you again. I just want to start out today before I even say the message in this video with some positive affirmations, because I always seek to help people on their journey to enlightenment, and I feel that this is helping me on my journey. So for this video, I want to set positive intentions and affirm that as light beings, we're working to ascend to a higher dimension of understanding, of even physicality, of mentality, of spirituality. And I'd like to ask powerful, helpful spirits to come around me and to protect me and to protect my mind and my intellect from things that are wishing to harm or to be an obstacle in this medium that I'm using to express myself and to express ideas to you, my viewers. But that being said, today's video is about spiritual guides. And I'm not sure how many of you out there know about spiritual guides or that have a spiritual guide. But if you do not know, I'll explain to you what that is now. So, spiritual guide, from my understanding, is it can be a physical being, but usually they come as entities, spiritual entities. Some people like to say, may think of them as ghosts or just non-physical energies. Your spiritual guides can come in many different forms or ideals that you have. A lot of the times your spirit guides will be your ancestors, maybe a loved one that passed away, or maybe it's an ancestor down the line, like generations old, maybe even hundreds of years old or thousands of years, speaking in physical time. Basically, they come to those that are on a frequency that can understand the spiritual realm, or that can digest the spiritual realm, and basically that wants to exist infinitely. I do feel that everyone has a spiritual guide, no matter if they are aware of it or not. But having the awareness of a spiritual guide helps it be more beneficial in your life, or those spiritual guides to be more beneficial in your life, as they are here to help you. They are here to guide you and to experience your life with you. A lot of the times they're protectors. They're there to show you signs and to make it much more comfortable to live in whatever life situation you chose in your sentience. So, yeah, a spiritual guide is basically someone that comes from another dimension, or some entity that comes from another dimension positively. Um, to assist you in your life, to assist you in the journey that you're on to ascending, and or to return back to wherever it is that your actual spirit, your non-physical being came from. Moving on from what a spiritual guide is, how I realized that I have spiritual guides. It was a few years ago, a little bit after I graduated from high school. I started college, and I began to take classes in philosophy and metaphysics. This opened my understanding to a lot of things that were going on around me already that I wasn't completely understanding for myself. Maybe like some certain signs that I was getting, some certain feelings I was getting in my body, some certain even messages that I was getting from a young age. And I want to go back a little bit to before I actually started the taking like philosophy classes and metaphysics classes, because before that, probably 4 years before that, around the time I was in 8th grade, maybe a bit before that, 7th grade, I was really active in a religious cult, Christianity. I was raised by my mother to be a Christian. And she would take me to church. She would take me to prayer meetings, to choir rehearsals, all the stuff that goes along with being involved in the cult. And I just felt uncomfortable in the space, to say the least. And like I said, this could have been my spirit guides communicating with me at the time. I would get certain physical feelings. I would get like tingling sensations in my brain, in the back of my head. I would feel just utterly like bored. I felt like I was being deceived. I felt as though being in church, it wasn't for me. It wasn't something that I enjoyed. It was something that I felt that I had to go, because I was a young person, and I wanted to make my mom happy, and I wanted to be obedient, and things that we're raised to believe as in this society that's necessary to thrive, basically. So yeah, I started having those feelings around like 7th grade, 8th grade, pretty young, and it continued into into my high school years. But I had stopped going to church, mainly because of the passing of my father, and my mother just wasn't around as much. She had to work, and she had to take care of me and my brother and my sister, so I had a little bit more freedom. Not to say it was good type of freedom, but yeah, I had a bit more freedom, so I discontinued going to church and like actually being a part of a religious cult. So I had time to just experience life without that influence. And up to when I started college in August of 2011. I've always been very interested and intrigued by other religions and other people's ways of life, and just knowing about them, not necessarily like practicing or getting too involved, just knowing why people believe what they believe, and why they act the way they act, or they choose to live by certain doctrines. I was always very interested in that. So I decided to go ahead and take the class, which was like an intro to it was like an intro class. So, and my teacher or my professor was extremely open. He was a younger person. I really enjoyed the way he got his point across, and I really enjoyed that that he gave such a refreshing outlook and such an open outlook on the things that he was teaching, and basically he was teaching philosophy from a Greek standpoint, which is what most people teach philosophy from. But coming from that, I actually started to do my own research, and I began to look into other forms of expression of ways of life. Excuse me. I'm at the park, so there's lots of like little things around me. Other ways of life, including astrology. I think I looked up Wicca. Just some things that people would think are a little bit more occults or occults, however you'd want to say that. Just because I was interested in it, I found it to be I found truth in it. So moving forward, from around like 2011, I started excuse me, there's a spider building a web around me. Around 2011, I indulged in a lot of information that would be considered occult, and a lot of people would consider to be taboo. And it led me to understanding that there are so many different ways of life and so many forms of creation, so many different perceptions of the forms of creation. And that led me into actually having what a lot of people in the New Age or in metaphysics call a spiritual awakening, where the life energy in your body raises up out of the first energy center in my body into my spine, and through and up into up my spine, up into my brain, and through my other energy centers, which a lot of people call chakras. And that began to stimulate a lot of information coming towards me. Experiences, people, things that opened me up to the universe around me and took me out of just the small space that I was exposed to growing up. And the spiritual awakening basically it gave me like extra sensitivity to the world around me. So in that fact, me being extra sensitive, I started being able to like sense spirits around me that weren't physical. And upon being able to sense these spirits, I began to meditate. And meditation is being able to basically remove your spirit and your body and generate energy based on your light being rather than just your physical being. And as I was able to like sense these the spirits around me, I realized that there were 3 very, very, very conscious spirits that were always around me, the same 3. And as I realized this, I would continue to meditate, and I would continue to live my life, and I realized that these spirit guides were around me to protect me. A lot of the times they were revealing things to me that I wouldn't have been able to see if I weren't in the correct mental vibratory state, or the correct state to actually like digest the information. So yeah, that was the way I actually learned that I had spiritual guides, was basically researching and opening my mental to it, and basically disregarding a system that I didn't feel connected to, and I didn't feel truth in, and I didn't feel the benefits of. So I guess you could say I disconnected myself from like worldly views, and I reconnected myself to the inner workings of my own mind. So after this, after I actually like started living, my life, realizing that I had spiritual guides, it made me feel stronger. It made me feel as though I didn't have to necessarily be around others, especially in a sense of spending time with other people that don't vibrate on the same frequency as me, and that don't understand the way I understand or see things that I see. Because to be around someone, a lot of the times it's a more comfortable experience when you think the same way, when you do the same things, when you can relate to one another. And I found that I could relate to my spiritual guides. They were similar to me. Like in essence, they were similar to me. They were very hungry for information and wanting to be a help, and wanted to increase the energy in other beings and other things. And I was very grateful for that, because in my life I've put myself through some scary situations, and some situations where I was alone, and it's not always it's not a good feeling to actually be alone, So having my spiritual guides with me it was always reassuring, and it was always strengthening to my spirit, and to me physically, because physically, as a human being walking around on earth, there's a lot of things that can get to you, you know. um and as I was going through my life, I knew that my spirit guides were there with me, and I had found truth in this, and I had confirmed it in my own spirit that they were here with me. But I didn't communicate with them often. Like, I wasn't able to like hear from them often. They didn't speak to me. It was more just signs and protection. And knowing this, it pushed me to find more information, to find more out about myself, to find out what it is that I'm here for, what life is, why am I on earth, why am I a human, why am I a woman, why am I a daughter, a friend. And I researched, I experienced life, and I grew from all of the things that I had accumulated in my journey. And up until recently, I became a bit disconnected from my spirit, and I wasn't able to, and this was maybe a year ago, not even a year. I felt I got kind of disconnected, and I was living a more fleshly existence, and I wasn't able to sense my spirit guides as deeply and as truthfully as I would have liked. I had the awareness that they were around me, but I didn't have the mental image of them as I did. And just recently, in the last like 3 months or so, my spiritual guides have come back to me, and they've come back to me much stronger, and I've grown much stronger, because now, my spirit guides, they actually talk to me, they communicate with me in a way that I can understand, in a way that I can understand them, in a way that we can communicate very, very clearly. Even to the point where I actually have I have a mental image of what they are. I can sense their energies. I've always had 3. Recently there's been an addition, and I have 4 now. So that tells me right there that I've transitioned to a point in my life where I need more protection, I need more help, because a lot of the people around me do not vibrate on the same frequency as me, do not understand the things that I understand, do not look at the world or view the world the way I do. So I'm very grateful, and I'm very grateful for the addition. Going back to the imagery of my spiritual guides, there are 4 now. The first and the most communicative being, I don't actually know their names. I think they kind of answer to emotions, because that's how they communicate too. They don't actually like speak out of their mouth, because like spirits don't speak. They don't. And if a spirit is speaking to you, then it's probably I'm gonna say it's probably a negative spirit. I'm be honest with you, because it was probably created or conjured up. And spiritual guides come because they want positive spirits come because they want to help and because they want to be of ease to you and of assistance. So the first one is a very, very large and powerful and bright and very strong. It's a masculine energy, very, very heavily masculine energy. He's extremely compassionate and understanding and almost and I would say nurturing as well. Though that can be seen as a feminine quality, he nurtures in a way that is subtle, but makes you feel very, very strong. The second being I have is quite observant and is a little bit more in the background, and it's a very balanced energy, an energy that's masculine and feminine. The tones are extremely balanced in that way, and sits back and observes a lot of things, but is a warrior and actually fights on my behalf a lot of the times, especially when it comes to my the things that go on in the other more spiritual dimensions. Is very very noble and very brave and very very true to the warrioristic abilities that he has, or she has. The third is a very, very, very ancient spirit, and this spirit brings me an awareness of my own knowledge. It's a very, very feminine energy. I get a lot that she speaks to me through my own intelligence a lot of the time, and reveals to me the information that I know is true and affirms it. She's in the image of a very, very, very old ancient being. Could attribute it to billions of years old, and I would say that she's quite observant as well, but always moving and always ready to digest information and relay it to me. And the fourth and the newest, which I've had around me for only a few months, actually. I wouldn't say I would say it's a young spirit. Honestly, it could be older than me, but it's a young spirit, almost in the imagery of a child or a baby. And it really just makes me feel nurturing. The spirit, it makes me feel nurturing. It brings out compassion in me. It brings out a feminine embodiment, and it brings out my protective side, and it shows me to use my discernment to treat others that I come into contact with physically in a more positive and in a more gentle way, which I love. It's a new feeling for me, because one thing I know a lot of things about myself, but a thing that I know and it rings true is that I have high tones of masculine energy in me. I was born during the sign of Leo, and that's my sun sign, and my moon sign is Scorpio, so it's quite an intense placement, and the energy in me is quite intense a lot of the time. The positive energy in me is quite high, and this energy that the child spirit, I'm gonna say, brings me is balancing. It helps. Like I have a lot of feminine energy as well, that I actually use a lot of the times in my healing practices. The childlike spirit has brought it to the forefront in my everyday life, and it has helped me balance my emotions, heal my body, my own body, and heal my own mental, and it's pretty wonderful. Since I have accumulated these spiritual guides, and especially since excuse me really quick. Especially since I've acquired the fourth one, I have gained the ability to digest information from the cosmos at a quite clear and a quite high frequency, and this has helped me be able to travel throughout, helps my spirit be able to travel throughout the cosmos more freely, and to experience what the dark matter in the universe is, and what it consists of, and what kind of information it has for me. And it's definitely opened up my being greatly. Excuse me. Since I have just recently become more balanced mentally and spiritually and emotionally too, especially, I'm starting to get like cosmic downloads and synchronicity, visions of my perpetual livelihood, visions of my past lives, of my the lives that I coincide with now. Also, because as sentient beings, we are infinite, and we do exist on several different dimensions, several different places in the universe at once. I've gotten so much more clarity on that, and my abilities generally, which is quite a blessing, or quite a great positive way to live my life, honestly. And my spiritual guides, they are getting more and more comfortable with me as my vibrations are rising. They can reveal more of themselves to me, share more information with me, and I'm going to continue to ascend and continue to work with my spiritual guides. And recently, actually, I've been able to like feel them, like actually feel them on me. The childlike spirit actually likes to be really, really close to me, like on me. Sometimes like hanging on my back, or like right up under my ribs when I'm sleeping. And it's pretty cool. It makes me feel more nurturing. It makes me feel like I have something to take care of, and a reason to be to be compassionate and to be nurturing in this world, which as a woman, I help with that vibration. So it's wonderful to be able to play off of that and to pull from that energy space. My first spiritual guide, the one that's super strong and masculine and compassionate. When I'm vibrating on a lower frequency, or I'm feeling a certain type of way spiritually, a lot of the times he'll come and actually like hug me and console me and make me know that everything's okay, and basically like transfer his smiles to me, which is a beautiful thing. And my warrior spirit comes to me in times of in times where my physicality is in a spiritual battle with other entities. And though he doesn't speak to me much and he doesn't touch me, he stands with me and is strong and gives me knowing that I'm in the correct the correct frequency. My mother spirit, my very, very ancient mother spirit, always gives me assurance intellectually. She knows, I want to say she knows everything. She hasn't revealed everything to me, obviously, because I'm still working to raise my vibration and my frequency in this universe. She knows everything. And when I had conceptualized things, when I conceptualize information, she assures me that it's the truth and that I can live in my truth. So yeah, that was a little bit about my spiritual guides and the way that I've moved through my life. That was like on a short scale, because I could literally sit here and talk about this all day with all of the experiences that I've had. I do want to make a few more videos to lead up to some of the experiences that I've had spiritually and even physically. Knowing all these things about myself and having such a deep connection with my spiritual guides, I have had some interesting interactions with other spirits, even physically. So I want to end this video with another affirmation that if you are seeking to know your spiritual guides, or that you have awareness of your spiritual guides, that you will find a way to connect with them and raise your frequency to be able to communicate with them and to use them beneficially in your life. And I also want to say that if you liked the content that I put out today, to like my video, share it with your friends, comment and ask me questions if you have questions, or just give me whatever feedback you have, because I'd greatly appreciate it. I'm going to continue making videos to help other people raise their frequencies, and to know that a lot of the things that happen in this world are a lot more spiritual and metaphysical than we actually realize, and that you do not have to be trapped on such a physical plane as a human being, that you can ascend above just walking around and talking to people that have faces like you and then voices like you and things that way, that you do have access to spirit, and you do have access to other dimensions and other existences. It's just about exploring them and being aware and being accepting. And there's no need to feel like any of this stuff is like spooky or scary or anything that can hurt you, because your spirit guides are there. They're yours to protect you from those types of things, to protect you mentally, spiritually, and a lot of the times physically too. So thank you so much. This is Goddess Sunflower, and have a wonderful day.